And look, the pressure really is mounting. He seems determined to stay, but look, could things still change?
Well, I guess theoretically anything could change, but what we're seeing right now is not only a fired up Joe Biden, but a fired up Democratic base of rank and file voters who want Joe Biden to stay in this race. Tonight, he was speaking from the battleground state of Michigan, and you heard chants from the audience saying, "Don't you quit." And I think they have given Joe Biden his answer. And I think he's in this race, and I think he's in it for the long haul.
Not losing them as friends, but very, very dear friends like the Obamas, like George Clooney, who, as well as being a mega film star, is a major Democrat and does a lot of fundraising, I gather, for Biden. Just recently raised millions. All of those people are trying to persuade him to stand down. He's not listening to his old friends.
He's not. In fact, a new op-ed came out today from actress Ashley Judd saying that Joe Biden needs to get out of the race. But what we know is that each of these people that you just mentioned, these are all just one vote. And what we are seeing is millions of people who also vote are clamoring for Biden to stay in this race. And I think what we're seeing now is the growing and widening schism within the Democratic Party between rank and file voters and the Democratic elite and the donor class, who all want something different. The question, of course, is who wins this at the end? This is a tug of war, and the rank and file want Biden, the elite and the donor class want someone else. And right now, it looks like the rank and file are getting their way.
But all of this seems to be pointing even more favourably for Donald Trump, doesn't it? And I mean, what's his tactic in all of this? Because quite unusually for him, he seems to be just staying reasonably quiet and letting this play out.
Yeah, that's right. And look, yesterday we just got the numbers in. That Biden press conference got more than 24 million people who watched it. So nearly half of the people who watched the debate last month saw that press conference. And we know that Joe Biden is going to be giving a network news interview on Monday night, which starts the Republican nominating convention for Donald Trump. And so it's very interesting because now we know Donald Trump is all about ratings. And right now it appears that Joe Biden is actually beating him at the area that he covets most, and that is in the ratings.
Is it because the ordinary voters in America are so wed to either being one party or the other that almost nothing will stop them voting for the party to which they've always been loyal?
That's certainly true. But I think that's why so much of this race comes down to what are those independent voters going to do? They are the ones who will determine the outcome of this race. And right now, they are up for grabs. In fact, they were actually leaning towards Donald Trump. The question, of course, is now with Joe Biden doing more media, doing more campaign and rallying stops, can he actually sway many of those voters to come to his side?
I'm intrigued by the fact you say ratings are important in all of this, because aren't people tuning in to Biden to just, it's almost ghoulish, isn't it, to see what goes wrong rather than to listen to what is going right?
You're absolutely right. They are tuning in to see if he's actually going to fall flat on his face like he did during that debate performance. But what they are seeing when they tune in is an energetic, spirited candidate who is speaking about issues that are resonating with them. And I think that is perhaps the benefit to all of this for President Biden, the fact that we have seen so much in terms of the crisis that has engulfed him. He now seems to have found his second win as a candidate.
So even if he does this network interview that's coming up and continues to campaign, maybe without some of the money that was promised, could he still win?
Look, when we talk about the money, I think the money is going to be there. In fact, we just heard from reports on Air Force One when he was en route to Michigan that as a result of that press conference yesterday, 40,000 people donated to the campaign. So I think what we're seeing here is Biden is certainly, I think, dug in. And I think the money's going to be there to help him get over this. What we're now seeing is, again, this fight is going to continue. And I think we could very well see this fight and these calls for Biden to get out of this race not only continue to grow, but I think we could see this all the way to the nominating convention in Chicago next month.
With all of this, I'll tell you what strikes me, Eric, with all of this, and it's less so in the UK, but perhaps not as much as it used to, is that all this furore, and so, whether it's bolstering his support or not, oddly enough, or whether, all the charges against Trump bolster his support, none of it seems to be focusing on actually what, in this case, Biden would be capable of doing should he win and going through the next presidential term, which, inevitably, however bad he is now, it's going to get worse.
Presidential elections are always about the future. And I think those who are calling for President Biden to get out of the race, that is actually what they're focused on. What does this look like, or what does this man look like in the future, 2 years from now, 4 years from now? And I think that's why we're seeing those calls continue to grow for him to get out. And look, this is a crisis of confidence that those elites, that donor class, have about Biden's, not only his ability to perform right now, but what will he be able to do 2 to 3 years from now? And those are questions that are going to dog this president now through Election Day.
Okay. Well, he's very stubborn, as Stephen said. He's very stubborn, and he's obviously not going to go easily.